I'm George Beautyman. I've been with the Society for 42 years. I'm the company secretary. Basically, my job is to make sure that the company complies with the financial and legal requirements, and also I've got to make sure that we maintain a high standard of governance. We do that by I give advice to the board of directors on policy and procedure. I organise meetings, I prepare agendas, I take minutes. I also have to liaise with Companies House. I send them audit reports and end of year accounts and things like that. And I suppose the last part of the job is to keep abreast of any changes in the law which might affect us, and then make sure that we abide by those laws. There are other things, but that's the main point of being the company secretary. Well, after telling you what I've just said, basically I drive a desk and a laptop. There's so much work going on at the moment. We started off as a very small organisation, and we've grown to a very successful museum now, and our policies and procedures must keep pace with that. So myself and the directors are working very hard, looking at policies, procedures, methods of working, and so on, to bring us into line with modern business law and modern requirements. When I'm not doing that, I tend to work in the beam engine house and also in the boiler house, especially when we're steam raising, leading up to a steaming, when we have to be in there every day, putting a small fire in and slowly raising the steam. That takes a week. The site opened in 1849. It was the first pumping station in the Tees Valley. It had then a fairly small beam engine which was adequate for the job. Over the years, as Darlington grew and demand for water increased, then they modified the engine, they then put new engines in, until eventually, when it got to about 1900, they had to think about the future demand and satisfying that, and they realised that the present equipment wasn't up to the job. So this thing was built, along with a new set of boilers. The beam engine went into use in 1904, and it worked until 1926, when a set of electric pumps were installed. That wasn't the end of it, however. They carried on with the engine as standby plant and ran it for a fortnight in every year to make sure everything was all right. That went on until the mid-1950s, when it was shut down. In 1975, it was run again to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. Then, I suspect they thought it would never run again. Then we came along. We spent lots of time taking barrow load of soot out of the boiler, cleaning the engine, oiling it, adjusting things, and it ran again in, I think it was November 1981. I joined in January 1982 when they ran it again, and it's run reliably 4 or 5 times a year ever since. Well, almost reliably. The big difference is that this engine pumps water. There are lots of beam engines around in the country, but the pumps have been disconnected, so they're just basically idling. This thing, when it's running, is pumping 3,800 gallons of water a minute. That's 19,000 litres a minute. The water goes into the filter beds outside and then tails off back into the river, but the engine is doing a fair bit of work. The second thing is, it was one of the last beam engines to be built in this country. Now, they could have put in a gas engine, they could have put in a set of electric pumps, and yet they went for a beam engine. Why? Several reasons. The main one was that the guys here knew about steam, and so training wouldn't be a problem. And secondly, they could rely on steam, and well, they were proved right there, weren't they? The one particular councillor was not very happy with the situation, and said, well, if you're going to put a beam engine in, it's got to be state of the art. It's got to have everything on it that will make it efficient. So that's what they did. So this beam engine represents the state of the art for beam engines in this country. They never got any better than this. The best thing, well, for me, I'm a tinkerer. I've always enjoyed pulling things apart all through my life, and sometimes I've managed to put them back together again. This machine, there's always something to do on it. There's always something to oil or clean or adjust or repair, and so it satisfies the engineering side of me. And also, there's great satisfaction. Being an old engine, things go wrong with it, and something might happen that you've never seen before. You think, yeah, what's happening here? What's going on? And we get our thinking caps on and we all discuss it, and I'll say, you go and look at that, and you go and look at that, and I'll go and check this, and eventually you put it right, and it runs again. And the feeling when you've done that is really great. And of course, you've learned something new. And with a steam engine, you never stop learning. There's always something new. The second reason is the social aspect of the job. We all work well together, we have good times, we go on social visits, we go on outings, and we get on very well socially. The third reason is dealing with the visitors. We met some very interesting people here, we have very good talks with them, we explain things, discuss things, and it's great to see them leaving at night, knowing that you've really made them or helped them to enjoy their day, and that's very satisfying as well. So there are several reasons why I enjoy working here. These are the boilers, and they feed steam to run the beam engine. They're called Lancashire boilers. In the old days, these things are everywhere. Whenever you needed steam, be it a coal mine, a factory, a textile mill, a steelworks or whatever, these were the things that you used. Very simple to operate, very reliable. Three things: you need a fire, you need water to make the steam. You fire the boilers through these fire hoses here, and Lancashire boilers have two. We hand fire with coal. Hand firing is the most effective way of keeping a good fire, more efficient than any other method. We also have to maintain the water level in the boiler, and you can see in the side glass here we've got half a glass at the moment, and we do that by operating a feed pump which is in the corner. And the trick of firing is it's a bit of a juggling act really. When you're putting coal on, you don't want to be putting water in. When you're putting water in, you don't want to be putting coal on. So you have to control your feeding of the boiler with water and the firing of the boilers very carefully to keep that steam pressure up. And that's really what goes into operating a boiler.